The Photography Explained podcast is supported by rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses. More at the end. How to organise digital photos on your computer. Hi, and a very warm welcome to episode 198 of the Photography Explained podcast. I'm your host Rick, and in each episode I will try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish without the irrelevant details. I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience, which I share with you, my dear listener. Okay, straight into the answery bit. You need to organise your photos on your computer so you can find any photo quickly and easily. You need to come up with a filing system that you can add to over the years as you take more and more photos. And you need to be able to keep track of all the photos in the catalogue so you know which photos you've edited, which ones you haven't edited, the good stuff, the rubbish, and of course, the best stuff. And any photos that you don't like or need or have no intention of ever doing anything with. More on that in a bit. In this episode, I'm going to tell you how I organise my photos in a single Lightroom catalogue, but please don't worry. You can do the same with any similar software package, and what I tell you, it works with the file structures in Windows Explorer and iOS Finder. Yes, I use both. And best of all, it's straightforward, whatever software you use. And it doesn't cost you anything. What is not to love? But it will save you a ton of time in the future. Plenty more on that. Well, actually, I've covered this quite a few times, so this is putting some of those bits together, which will hopefully help us all. Right, let's get into this. Photos are like any other digital file. This is the starting point. And these files need to be organised in a logical file structure, just like any other digital file. And the best way for you to do this is to have a good old think and devise a simple system that works for you. And yes, of course, feel free to base your system on mine. Okay, quick word about Lightroom. Now, I have to apologise for constantly mentioning Adobe Lightroom, but this is what I use, and I have done so since it was first released in 2007. 2007, would you believe it? Yeah, I've been a user of Lightroom since version 1.0, which you bought and then they sent you the CD in the post. Do you remember those days? If you're young, you might not. And it gets sent in the post for you to install on your computer. So that was then. Now it's cloud-based, subscription-based. That's the way of the world, which I'm fine with. But I am a paying customer. I pay for Lightroom with my own money, okay? Adobe are not paying me to say this. One day, Adobe, one day. Just saying. So while this might sound like a Lightroom ad, and apologies if it does, in my podcast, I tell you what I do, and I use Lightroom, like I say, which I pay for myself. But photo organisation is photo organisation, whatever software you use. And the other thing I don't want to do is I don't want to talk about other software because I don't know how to use it. I don't know enough about it. There are other people who can advise on that. I tell you what I do and know in my podcast, okay? Okay, so the starting point, one catalogue. Yes, one catalogue, dear listener. All my photos dating back to 2003, blimey, are in a single location. That's one Lightroom catalogue. When I started, I used to have numerous catalogues as this is what I thought I needed to do, but I was wrong. And for over a decade now, which was a scary thing, it's probably well over a decade. For well over a decade, that shocked me that, well over a decade, because it feels like I can remember that time when I thought, no, it's all going in one catalogue, and I spent some time doing that, and that's how it's been ever since. Blimey, over a decade ago. Scary thought, and what I did then, it's not going to change. I remember reading some years ago that with Lightroom, there is no limit to the number of photos you can have in a single Lightroom catalogue. Not sure if this is still true or if someone's had too many photos and broken it, but I've got 80-odd thousand photos and it works just fine for me. So why one single catalogue? Well, it makes everything easier. Please believe me, it does. As long as you've got your organising done and you've got rid of your rubbish, I'll say that a lot during this episode. It might just sound like an easy way out, and it is, and that's fine. We don't have to complicate everything in life. Life's hard enough, isn't it? Let's keep things as simple as we can do. And it's easy to back up a single catalogue, so there are no reasons not to have a single catalogue for all your photos. No reason at all, and that's what I do. And I've done for well over a decade, as we've already established. There's also much less chance of duplicate images, a problem that I had back in the day. And I'm pretty sure that this applies to other software, but I can't vouch for it, okay? I can't vouch for it. And another beauty of having all your photos in a single catalogue, it means you've got all your photos in one place in a chronological order, which is utterly splendid. I've got every photo from 2003 to Wednesday of this week, all in date order in one place. And that's massive for me. It's huge. That's over 20 years of photography, all in one place in date order. Wonderful. Right, so what is the folder structure in my Lightroom catalogue? This is boring but important. I'm sorry. It's not fun, is it? Folders and catalogues. No, it's not. But it's important. I used to have 11 main folders, and then there were subfolders within each folder. Lots of subfolders. It went on and on. It was a bit all over the place. I don't need to tell you any of that, because what I've got now is the refreshed, revised, rationalised, much more efficient setup, which I've been working on very recently. And that's why I'm telling you this now. I'm also in the process of getting rid of all the rubbish from my Lightroom catalogue. But this is the file structure. 1 is import, 2 commercial, 3 England, 4 worldwide, 5 working, and 6 personal. And that's it. 6 main folders. That's all I have now, and it looks much better on screen. I know it's sad that these things make me happy, but they do. So only 6 main folders for 86,000 photos. I'm going to go through them one by one and just explain the reasons for them. But my file structure is based on how I work. My file structure relates directly to my workflow, and this is very important. You need to structure your catalogue for how you work, and you will work differently from me, of course you will. Right, so import folder. Now, not surprising, this is where I import photos to. I used to then move them to another folder. It was called sort. I got rid of that because I didn't need it. Because what I was doing was this. I was moving the photos to the sort folder and not sorting them. If I didn't have an immediate need for them, they'd sit in the sort folder. And the sort folder had about 30 subfolders of photos going back 5 years. It wasn't serving any purpose at all. And it annoyed me. And it became a dumping ground for unsorted stuff. And I don't want that. Now, imported photos are put in a single folder until I'm ready to move them to a new folder where they'll stay. And I'm not going to move them to this folder until they've been sorted, which for me these days means getting rid of the rubbish and adding metadata to the photos. I'll come on to that in a bit. I used to put them in another folder. Now they go into the import folder, and then once they're sorted and ready to work on them, they go somewhere else. And this keeps me happy. And this is how I keep on top of the rubbish. Yes, it's okay to admit we take rubbish photos. Well, I'm happy doing that. Yeah, the photos sat in the import folder. That annoys me, so I need to deal with them, sort them and move them, so they no longer annoy me. It is that simple. And if the photos are sat in this folder, I know they've not been sorted and I know they've not been edited. So that's it. Nice and simple. So there's only 5 places that photos can go. And number 2 is commercial, which is where my commercial work goes. And this is subdivided into years, and within each year, a job. And that is it. So you've got commercial, year, job name. That's it. When I'm moving the photos from the import folder to the job folder, I create a new subfolder called all, and the photos get put into that folder. And that's where I do a final sort of the photos and decide which ones I'm going to edit. See, when I've imported the photos, I'm going to delete the obvious rubbish because I don't want to see it again, and it saves hard drive space and all that. But in the all folder, all the photos are there, and I'm going to create another subfolder called pics where I put the pics, which are the photos I'm going to edit. The rejects get deleted. And at some point in the future, I will delete the photos that I haven't used, and I will put the pics in the main folder and get rid of the subfolders. That's where it ends up, but I'll cover some of that in a bit. Folder number 3, England. No years on that, just the location, broken down by county, then the actual place. So the file structure is England, Dorset, Durdledore, that kind of thing. Again, nice and simple. Number 4, worldwide. Same as England. It's broken down by country and then location, and that's it. And some of these folders, they've got years on them as well, because I've been to some places more than once. Very fortunate, I know. Number 5, working. Anything I'm working on for my business, my websites, the blog or the podcast, anything at all. And there's subfolders to organise this little lot. And at the moment, because this is a work in progress, this one, I've got the me photos, as in photos of me, which I use all the time on videos and what have you. I've got a folder with skies in it. I've got behind the scenes photos, and I've got photos of gear. And there will be more subfolders. The point is I put my photos I'm working on together and have subfolders that help me to do my work and save me time. And that's what this is all about. Folder 6, personal. Well, it's anything personal. Apart from the stuff from holidays, I haven't managed to split holiday photos, which have sunrises, places, and family stuff. I haven't split them all up yet, and I don't know if I'm going to, because I know where they are anyway, so it's not a problem to me. But this is where labels and other stuff can come in. But ideally, every family photo would be in the personal folder, but it isn't. And I know there's things that I can use, such as facial recognition. That will help me to organise my family photos, but I had a quick look at that, and it was quite daunting how many faces there were. I was on there several hundred times with different photos of me. I think it's one, I know it's one I need to spend some time on. Okay, so that's how my photos are organised in Lightroom. 6 main folders and subfolders that make logical sense. And it is that simple. Said it before, say it again. Photos are digital files, and they need filing like any other digital files. We don't need to overcomplicate this. Okay, my photography workflow. It's worth saying this again. My folder structure, it reflects my workflow. It's straightforward, but it works, and it saves me time, and it means I can find photos quickly and easily. So that's how I organise my photos, but what else do I do? Well, where are my photos stored? Lightroom's on my PC hard drive, which has a 512GB solid state drive. But the photos, my digital photo collection, they're all stored on a 4TB external hard drive. And at the moment, this external hard drive, it's got 1.76 terabytes of available space. So I'm sorted for many years. I'm going to have to replace the hard drive because it's old rather than running out of storage capacity. But having said that, I really want to upgrade to solid state drives anyway, which is one to add to my list, I know. I bought the external hard drives a few years ago, and they've allowed me to put all my photos in one place with enough capacity for many years into the future. They were a massive game changer for me because I got to a point, I've talked about this on my blog on rickmcavoyphotography.com, quick plug there, about the time that my computer fell over because all the photos just made my computer crash, and I thought I'd lost everything. So I had to delete 200GB of photos just to keep going. There's a blog post all about that. I think it's called How I Deleted 196GB of Photos from Lightroom. Not a problem anymore because I've got 4TB and I don't take that many photos, so it's no longer a problem. And this hard drive has got my photos on it and absolutely nothing else, just the photos. It's a dedicated hard drive. These things don't cost a fortune, about 100 quid, 150 quid. You can have a 4TB drive and you should be sorted for years. And let's not forget, these photos, for us photographers, they're very important, so we need to store them properly and look after them. Yeah, we spend thousands of pounds on cameras and lenses, a couple hundred quid on a couple of hard drives to keep your stuff safe. It's well worth investing in, isn't it? Okay, edited photos. Well, where are these kept? What do I mean? I edit photos in Lightroom, and if I'm going to issue them to somebody or publish them, I will export them out of Lightroom as JPEGs, and then they go into another folder. And that's where they're sat. And this is a realization I've had, is I've got all the edited photos as JPEGs separately from my Lightroom catalogue. I've got 3 choices here. I leave them where they are in separate folders on a separate drive as it happens, or I import them into Lightroom as edited photos, not sure of the implications of that, or I delete them. I've got the original RAW files anyway, but I like having a record of what I've issued, and I like having these edited files that I can drag out instantly whenever I want to. But they're not in my Lightroom catalogue. They're not part of my backup system. It's one for me to think about. Right, that was the answery bit. Or as I just said, that was the answery system. No idea where that came from. This is the talky bit. Let's not overthink this. Digital images are files, just like Word documents, PDFs, anything else you care to mention. So get your organisation sorted out and you'll be good to go. Get this right and it will help you for years to come, just like mine has for many years and still does and will do going forwards. Digital cameras, they've given us the opportunity to take lots of photos, and we need to keep on top of this, don't we? Storage space needs to be managed and kept on top of. All our photos need to be together in one central location where we can manage them, curate them, and look after them. They're precious items to us. And don't keep your photos on memory cards. Get them onto something more secure, because cards can fail, okay? And there's... I'll come back to it. Why not? Rubbish photos. If you got rubbish photos in your catalogues, why have you not got rid of them? I'm going through the process of getting rid of all the rubbish photos. This is photos I'm never going to edit. If I'm not going to edit them, what's the point of keeping them? And rubbish photos, to me, I can broaden it out to duplicates, technically rubbish photos, boring photos, dull photos, uninteresting. In fact, I'll come on to this a bit more in the next episode, which is a follow-on. So get rid of the rubbish photos. And as for my rubbish, well, I want to finish the exercise of deleting all the rubbish out of my Lightroom catalogue by the end of the year. And that's 2025, that is, because I didn't manage to do it in 2024. It's a big job. It's a big job that takes time, and whilst it's hard work, the end point will be well worth it. I think I need to bring that completion forward, don't I? That's a long time. That's a lot of putting it off doing other things, isn't it? And why have I got so much rubbish? Well, check out episode 195, cunningly titled, Why Do I Have So Many Rubbish Photos? And Why It's Okay, and What I'm Doing About It, where you can get the full story. And ask yourself a question. I love this. If you can't be bothered to edit a photo, why are you keeping it? Keeping photos organised is so important for all photographers, professional photographers, amateur photographers, hobbyist photographers. And for professional photographers, these assets are their income and they need to be looked after. Very important. Right, what if I use a phone to take photos? Well, the title of this episode said on your computer for a reason. I'm not covering photos on a phone, and I'm going to tell you why. I've got over 18,000 photos on my camera roll on my phone. 18,000 photos. Absolutely ridiculous. What am I going to do with them? I know some are in albums, but 16,000, 17,000 aren't. They're not organised in any way other than they are in date order, because that's what Apple do. I need to do something with this, but these photos are not my priority. And that's why I've not done anything about this, and I don't know if I will do, but it's one I aim to get sorted out this year, and if I do, I'll do an episode on it. It's one for me to think about. So there's work for me to do, and a question for you, dear listener. How do you organise photos on your phone? I can't be the only one with this problem, surely, so let me know, give me some help, and hopefully I can sort that one. And that's why this episode title was so specific. Who am I to tell you how to organise your photos on your phone when I've got all these photos in a completely unsorted way? I mean, I've dabbled with Apple Photos, Google Photos, Google Drive, Camera Roll, but I've never got to grips with it, and it's not that important to me, but I do want to sort it. I want less photos on my phone. I want less photos on my camera roll, on the cloud. I'm going to move on from that. What do I do? Well, I've got a lot of photos, but other photographers will have many more. 86,000 photos when I started getting rid of the rubbish. And the photos are now super well organised. Now they are, and there are further improvements I'm going to make. There's rationalisations I'm going to make. So the photos in my Lightroom catalogue are super well organised. The photos on my phone aren't. There are opposite ends of the organised or not organised photo scale, if there is such a thing. And whilst this pains me, it makes sense as my real photos, using air quotes, which I take with a camera and I import into my carefully curated Lightroom catalogue, they're different from the snaps taken with my phone, completely different. So there is a reason why I'm in this position. And I also take fewer photos, especially these days, and I delete the rubbish as I go. Yes, I'm getting a lot better at that, and I took some photos on Wednesday, and I've deleted the rubbish, the stuff I don't need. It's all gone before I moved it to the job folder, so I'm happy with that. And as I said, I've started the process of deleting the rubbish photos in my catalogue, and that's what I do. Thoughts from the last episode. I enjoyed revisiting my one photo rule. I keep on going back to it, don't I? There's just one thing I want to pick up on here, and it's this. Think before you take a photo. Ask yourself those questions that I talked about and try to get the one best photo of that one thing you're photographing, whatever it is. Okay, next episode. Well, there's so much more to this that I want to talk about. So much more. Once you've got a file structure sorted and your photos there, you need to be able to keep on top of this lot, don't you? So in the next episode, I'm going to tell you that. There's a second part to this. One is getting yourself organised, and the other one is managing your catalogue once you've done it. Getting organised is just the beginning, because if you're taking photos on a regular basis, you are regularly adding to a catalogue, whatever software it's in. So there are things that can help us, and I'm going to tell you what they are. And I'm going to cover things like backing up your photos so all your assets are secure. Okay then, want to know more about me and what I do? Well, why not, eh? A quick plug for me. Well, you found this podcast, so you might not know it's got its own website, photographyexplainedpodcast.com, where you can read all the scripts, you can listen to the episodes, and there's other information on there. It's all good stuff. And I have another photography website, rickmcavoyphotography.com, where I write blog posts about my photographs of buildings and, well, any other good stuff, really. And on that website, I have a courses page where you'll find my course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer. And you can also find me on YouTube, where I talk about my podcast and my blog. Just type Rick McAvoy in and you'll find me soon enough. Right, plug over. Thank you for indulging me. If you got a question you would like me to answer, dear listener, or you just want to say hi, email me, sales@rickmcavoyphotography.co.uk. Shorter email address being investigated. Or go to the podcast website, photographyexplainedpodcast.com/start. Or you can text me from the podcast feed. How excellent. Whichever way you get in touch, it's always lovely to hear from you, dear listeners. Always lovely. Okay, I'm done. This episode was brought to you by a coffee I consumed before settling down in my homemade, modified for the last time, hopefully today, acoustically cushioned recording emporium. This is a lunchtime recording. I'm going to eat after this, and I am going to enjoy a cheese and pickle sandwich, of course I am, but no crisps, because I'm being good. I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast, it says here, and for giving me 27 minutes-ish of your valuable time. Now, after I've edited out the mistakes and the other bad stuff, this episode will be about 25 minutes long, I think. Okay, thanks for listening. Take care, stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. My brand new course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer, straight talking advice for beginners to get you making money quickly and build a career, is available to buy now. Find out more at rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses.